Welcome to Dukascopy TV. I'm Elaine Stenson. The number of registered jobless in Spain rose by 87,000 people, leaving 4.81 million people out of work. The increase was especially pronounced in the services and agricultural sectors. I'm joined on the line now by Dr. Santiago Sanchez Pages, Research Fellow at the Department of Economic Theory at the University of Barcelona. Santiago, Spain's jobless numbers were up in October with no relief in sight. What factors have led to this, and is this an accurate reflection of the current state of Spain's economy?
Okay, so the thing that is important to understand here is that the Spanish economy is quite seasonal for obvious reasons, because basically tourism implies that many people are employed during the summer. So it's very normal that after the summer many people come back or become unemployed because there's no longer the services are no longer needed. The thing is that is in stark contrast with the behavior of unemployment, which has been quite good in the previous months. And it's true that many have seen in the fact that unemployment went down in the last couple of months or 3 months. Many people have seen that as a sign of recovery. And even though the data released today seems to suggest that indeed this recovery is not really there, we will need to wait a bit more in order to see whether this is just the effect of the seasonal characteristic of the Spanish economy, or is something that really tells us that the recovery is not there yet.
Okay, and on the other hand, Spain's GDP rose for the first time in 10 quarters in the 3 months to September, even though it was only 0.1%. Is this a good sign, or do you think that this can be attributed to seasonal factors?
No, I think that the Spanish economy is going better. Let's say that the analogy that I like to use is that Spain has stopped digging its own grave. It's somewhere in the bottom, but it's no longer digging, which is a good sign. And it's obviously clear that the Spanish state has less difficulties in financing itself. The bond yields have never been so low for the last 3 years, and it's, as you mentioned, GDP start to grow. I mean, these are very small figures. Employment has increased in these few months back very little, GDP very little, but there are signs that this crisis seems to be over. The big question right now is whether Spain is going to remain at the bottom or whether there's going to be an actual recovery.
The European Commission is expecting unemployment to fall gradually, with next year being the turning point before starting to drop marginally to 25.3% in 2015. What's your response to this?
Well, there are good reasons to believe that that's going to be the case, because it's true that real variables such as employment lag a bit behind compared to financial variables, like, let's say, as we would say, in bond yields and stuff. It seems that the financing of Spain is going well. Money, foreign money is coming back to Spain again, and that in 6 months or a year, that should imply that the real economy is going to grow. The question is what's going to be the characteristic of this employment that is going to be created. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem that it's going to be good quality employment. The figures that we have is that the people that are now finally finding a job again are finding jobs at half the wage or that they were earning when they got unemployed. And also there is a large stock of unemployed people who are long-term unemployed. So it's a big question is what is going to be the quality of the employment and what is going to be wage inequality in Spain after the next year ends.
Santiago, in your opinion, what factors are causing Spain's recovery to be so slow? And do you think that further tax hikes or budget savings will be necessary?
I think there are two main reasons why Spain has been so slow in recovering. First one, it's very anomalous labor market, which makes that, because it's based on a big chunk of temporary contracts, it means that in economic booms, employment is created very quickly, but in economic crisis is destroyed extremely quickly as well. So it means that that's why Spanish unemployment is at the 26th or 27th, has peaked at the 27%. And the other thing, which is something that those familiar with the Japanese situation already know, is that the Spanish banks had their balance sheets full of properties with very little value. And it meant that credit was frozen for many businesses. Banks were not giving credit to entrepreneurs or people who want to start up businesses. So that has basically froze to a halt the Spanish economic activity for a long time. And that's why the recovery has been so slow. Only when these assets get some pick up their value, or only when banks are willing to sell these assets, then the situation will finally start being consistently good.
And finally, can you give a brief comment on the European Commission's economic forecast for the EU, which was released today?
The EU basically what is forecasting is that the economic situation will be increasingly better, and that finally it seems that the recovery is underway. The big question is how the members of the EU are going to be tackling the unemployment problem, which, as we said, in Spain is very big. And then the question is whether that is going to entail taking measures which are or the opposites of what has been followed so far. That means the austerity. And the big question is whether an expansion will be necessary in order to create jobs in the EU area.
Santiago, thank you for joining me on the line today. That's all we have for now, but do check back later for further interviews and updates from the team. Bye for now.